Hi warriors, and welcome back to another video. Today I'm just going to show you some eats, I'm going to be sharing some rambles, and yeah, this is just for a bit of fun. It's been a very busy video uploading week, but I've enjoyed it. I hope you have as well, and next week I've got a whole new series coming on Patreon as well, so stay tuned. Before I continue, I just want to have a really quick word about this week's sponsor, which is Way of Leaf. And I'm super excited about this sponsorship. Why, you might ask? Because I'm just super psyched about drugs. Well, about researching them. If you hadn't noticed, I shared this before, but I took the addictions module this year, and I've been learning a lot about different drugs and been particularly interested in psilocybin, which you can find in magic mushrooms, but also in cannabis and just in the whole classification system, because it really doesn't make much sense. And websites like Way of Leaf just do a really good job at educating people about the actual effects of drugs. Anyway, my final assignment, which I finished at the end of last week, had to do with psilocybin and why it should be reclassified. We all got to choose our own drug, and I chose psilocybin because as a class A drug with probably the least harmful effects out there, I thought it was a bit ridiculous and I wanted to focus on that. However, for a very long time I was thinking of focusing on marijuana, weed. As the example that we were given concerned that, I ended up not doing that. But I did do a little bit of research on it before I decided not to. And the research that I did, a large part of it, I did on this exact website. Because it just has really good research. Obviously before I went on to actually reading some research papers. But that can be time consuming. Whereas this website just really summarizes these papers, which was useful. Basically, the purpose of the website is to educate the community about CBD and its health effects and potential benefits. It also aims to just sort of explain the CBD characteristics and spread awareness. And I think it does a pretty good job of that. I know a fair amount about drugs because of my addictions module, but I can honestly say that by looking through this website, I learned some new things that I hadn't known before. It's also got different sections such as strains, CBD, etc. And there's even a recipes tab, which includes cannabis fish and chips and weed-infused pizza, both of which sound pretty interesting if you ask me. Anyway, personally, I mainly enjoyed the Cannabis 101 section, which has a lot of information of how it affects the body, how it may affect oral health, and there was also an article comparing it to alcohol and tobacco, which is probably a good wake-up call to a lot of people because alcohol and tobacco do a lot of harm, whereas an illegal substance like cannabis is actually so much safer. Same is true for psilocybin, which is currently class A, the most harmful, which just doesn't make sense. So, all in all, I think this website does a really great job of bringing the research to the people, and if you're a geek like me, definitely check it out. Anyway, whilst I was doing my research, even just 2 weeks ago, the website went under the name marijuanabreak.com, and this has actually changed just a few days ago to wayofleaf.com. Which sounds pretty cute. Anyway, my drugs ramble is over. If you actually want to hear about stuff like this, then let me know, and I might talk about it some more in the future. But I am excited to get on with this video, starting with some more food.
My phone lights up, but it's never you. I can't help but feel so lonely. I know there's things that I can't undo. I'm falling apart so slowly. Come alive when we're faded. The summer nights that we're chasing. Want this feeling to last forever, forever. I know it's hard for you to stand, but I can make it another day without you.
I just had breakfast, so the usual fruits, homemade yogurt, Weetabix, nuts and seeds, all of that lovely jazz. But I wasn't really that hungry this morning, and that's sort of an increasingly common phenomenon with me these past few days. Basically, I go through these cycles during my cycle, and there's a week or two where I'm just ravenous for literally anything and everything. Then there's a week or two of pretty normal hunger cues. I have a good appetite, so I still eat quite a lot. And then there's a week or a few days where really I'm not that hungry and I have to sort of force myself to eat or remind myself that it's time for a meal. And I think that's quite common. It has to do with hormone fluctuations. I don't know the precise science, but even when you're not hungry, it's okay and it's necessary to eat. And whether you're in active recovery or you have recovered or you've never even had an eating disorder, it's still important to eat. So I had breakfast. It was probably slightly smaller than my usual breakfast, but you know what? I'll probably be hungry later and have a snack. It's important to show you all these sides of hunger cues, and it's amazing that I'm now able to listen to these hunger cues. Obviously during my recovery, I had to push myself a little bit more. If I wasn't hungry, I really had to eat, and I couldn't eat any less than I normally would because I had to gain weight. Now, obviously, it's a little bit more flexible. I'm better able to just listen to my hunger cues, and that is fine too. But obviously, see where you are in recovery and don't take what I'm doing as advice for you because everyone's in a different situation. Anyway, I've got myself a nice little cup of peppermint tea, and I'm in the midst of making another batch of yogurt, but the milk is just cooling down before I can continue with that. I'm planning to put away some of my laundry today, have some nice meals, maybe go for a walk, I'm not sure, do some handstands and do a lot of YouTube video editing. That's probably my day. Silly me, forgot to record lunch, but yeah, one hell of a thing to do while you're recording what I eat. It was just mash with seitans and then a mushroomy red wine sauce, which was absolutely delicious, and I added a little bit of little gem that we still need to finish. And yeah, that was it. It was really good. In the afternoon, I snacked on these chocolate squirrels, as they're called. Really, they're just like chopped up chocolate flavored naked bars. Really delicious. I ate the entire pack after we returned from our house viewing. Normally I'll have a snack in the morning, but because we had lunch quite early at 12 on the dot because we had a house viewing, I only snacked on a few nuts and that was enough to get me through to lunch, by which time I was hungry. Right. It's time for my thoughts about AllIn, which has recently become a very, very popular concept. Basically, I want to say that it's something that I really support and that I think should be the norm for people in eating disorder recovery, because it really focuses on allowing yourself to eat, not restricting and listening to your hunger, which, as if you know my channel, I always promote. There's honestly no good reason to avoid certain foods or food groups unless you obviously have a very bad allergy to them or anything like that in recovery, because your eating disorder is characterized by avoidance of food, and the only way to beat that and go against the eating disorder is by doing the exact opposite and facing your fears. So basically this new movement, which I mean new, it's been going on for a little while. This new movement just exactly encompasses what I think recovery should be, and that is allowing yourself to eat freely, listening to your hunger, eating certain minimums, and if you want more, going for that, and challenging the thoughts. So I think it's fine to eat junk food, and it's fine to have those snacks in the house, and to challenge the eating disorder, because honestly, your body needs the nourishment, and also you are much more likely to suffer from adverse health effects from an eating disorder than you are from eating a chocolate bar. So yeah, those are my thoughts on AllIn, and on fear foods, and on junk food, and on recovery. So yeah, ramble number 2 over. Personally, I use oil when I cook, and I might put it in sauces as well, and I might fry my vegetables up in it as well, or I might make sauces with butter, etc. And yeah, it's probably not a health food, but as I said before about the whole AllIn thing, you should be able to allow yourself those foods without feeling guilty. Also, it's just an easy thing to add in if you want to gain weight. And if you have orthorexic tendencies, it's the best way to tell your eating disorder, screw you. Screw you, I'm gonna have it anyway. Also, for some meals, it just makes it a little bit nicer, I think. So that's my choice. That's what I do, and make up your own conclusions. There's some aubergine and butternut in the oven with some olive oil and some salt. And then we sauteed a little bit of napa cabbage, and I made a pesto with cashews, walnuts, basil, lots of parsley as well. I put in some peas, garlic, nutritional yeast, lime instead of lemon this time. So good, so creamy. And we've got our pasta. And some butter beans. Anyway, that was it for a full day of eating and especially rambling. If you liked it, be sure to give it a thumbs up, be sure to subscribe, keep an eye out for tomorrow's video, and keep an eye out for next week's Patreon video series. If you have any of your own questions that you'd like answered during that series, do send them in via Patreon. I'll leave the link in the description, and I'll see you again very, very soon.